Hello, everybody. How you doing? Yes. Here we are at another live stream, also a podcast. Happy Valentine's Day, and welcome to your author platform podcast with Dr. John Friedel. Are you investing significant time and energy in writing your books, but still struggling to reach a larger audience? I understand how you feel, and I'm here to help you change that. If you're looking to boost your momentum, connect with your audience like never before, and increase profitability in ways your fans appreciate, today's episode will guide you confidently forward. Hello, authors. It's wonderful to spend time with you on another Your Author Platform podcast. I host this podcast to help you connect with your audience, boost your book, create other valuable revenue streams to support your growing community, and ultimately enhance your efforts to improve your fans' lives. Um, uh, and I hope to positively impact your life today so you can better connect with your fans. On my last episode, in case you missed it, I went over how to entrepreneur the heck out of your nonfiction book. I also interviewed Magpie. I hope that you enjoyed listening to my previous episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Today's episode number 16 covers how to create a fiction book business as an entrepreneur, followed by a new segment on artificial intelligence. This time, let's make sure we understand what is AI slop and how to recognize it. So, writing a work of fiction can lead to, and please comment as you would like, and I'll respond as we go along. This is also a Q&A if you are on the live stream. Writing a work of fiction can lead to a new novel, but it can also become the cornerstone of an online entrepreneurial business. For instance, online courses are lucrative for nonfiction books, but fiction books can also be turned into a massively profitable online business with membership, subscriptions, and paid speaking engagements. Just to get started, the primary financial benefit for an author's online business is collecting fans' emails. When they buy a book, they understand that book distributors keep their audience's contact information. Instead, if you collect those emails, then you can market your next book or other products to your audience. What might fiction authors market? Fiction authors have the same products as nonfiction authors, apart from online courses. For example, you could sell your multi-step process for writing books in your genre, and your audience of aspiring authors would likely be happy to purchase it. Ask yourself what you've purchased from your favorite fiction authors to understand what your fans might want from you. Your products may center around the many questions you ask yourself as a fiction writer, because your fans ask themselves those same questions. An author has fans who might reach out to you. But an online business entrepreneur has a community of fans who reach out to each other as well as you. For instance, how did you establish the timeline of your stories? Again, I'm focused on fiction, and we did nonfiction before. So once you create a fiction work, when in that timeline did you write your first book series for a pivotal character? Do you then go back in time to the legends that the character was inspired by, or jump to the future where those characters are themselves misunderstood legends? Once you start to think about it, you'll have endless decisions to share with your fans, who will eat up every word. Here are a few more ideas. First, what are some of the difficulties you've had as a writer? Second, tell a behind-the-scenes story from your life as an author. What's your daily schedule like? What activities or trips do you take to rejuvenate? Third, speak to your fans about where you get your inspiration. Was it a mentor from college, or a family member, a book that you read that inspired you to do so much? I met Larry Correia, who's a urban fantasy author, bestseller, and we had a nice conversation when he was walking around a bookstore that I happened to be at, and he happened to be at, and it was wonderful to ask him questions. I didn't know until later that he'd been on. I'm a little off script here, but I do that. You'll get to know me. But I asked him a bunch of questions, and he said 8 different things, of which one was, don't wait for retirement to start writing. Number two, another one was, everybody has a good book idea. What you're looking for is a great book idea. And then a couple months after that, I actually had a great idea for a book, which I proceeded to write. Unfortunately, I'll say unfortunately, because a lot of nonfiction authors, it was a nonfiction book, wish they were fiction authors. It's a strong feeling. So yeah, I went through some of that, and I built a business around that book with my previous business, which I'll tell you about sometime. But not really important for this discussion. So, the list of offerings continues, as I'll explain as we move forward here. Consider each idea as the theme of a speaking engagement offered at a book convention. Because it is or could be. However, first you need to build that website or create a strong online presence. A strong website and online presence on social media open more possibilities as a fan base grows. The following potential revenue streams are possibilities. Choose a few of them, perhaps only one that appeals to you and your fan base, then go for it. Later, elsewhere, I'll explain how to easily create, grow, and maintain each of these revenue streams. But here next, I'll define them. Welcome to being more than an author, but an entrepreneur too. So, premium content. Memberships and subscriptions give your fans exclusive access to you and your team via monthly or annual billing. Many services offer these arrangements, such as Patreon, YouTube, if you're monetized, your website, and others, including asynchronous messaging apps like Volley, which is something that I'm very seriously considering and putting together for you. Deciding which service to use will be your most difficult decision. The intent of memberships and subscriptions is to offer a select portion of your audience premium content. What premium content, you ask? Well, isn't that an interesting question? You could post your regular content a week or so before posting it publicly. In this way, it's no real extra effort on your part while still being valuable to that select audience. You can also consider it a dry run to determine if that content is much better or worse than your prior content, maybe even result in some editing. But memberships and scholarship subscriptions can include two-way communications. Perhaps you could add live streams, and perhaps you already have regular live streams for everyone. So perhaps adding weekly or monthly live Zoom meetings is so you can see and hear your premium audience members. Speaking engagements. In your niche, do your fans physically gather somewhere with in an auditorium where you could offer them an annual speaking engagement? Search for book conventions. Go on stage and speak to your fans, but make sure somebody is recording your presentation. What you want is to be paid for your future speaking engagements, and for that, you need a sizzle reel. For the next speaking engagement, ask to be paid, and as proof, offer your sizzle reel, highlights of your past performances, to justify the payment. The sizzle reel highlights your prior speaking engagements to demonstrate your value. Partnerships and collaborations. Unless your niche is you alone, partnerships and collaborations are not an option. Are an option. What's the goal here? The intent is to reach another author's or creator's audience by being on their YouTube channel, podcast, website, and more. I demonstrated this with my prior podcast episode and live stream. And their intent is to be introduced to your audience for the benefit of both of you. You have a list of your competitors, right? So send an email to each of them approximately the same size as your channels. Their size has to be similar to yours, asking if they'd like to partner with you on a story or essay. Avoid asking creators with far larger channels than your own. There's no motivation for them to agree. Same as if a channel the 10th your size were to ask you for a collaboration. Sorry, email deleted. Writing a work of fiction can lead to a new novel, but it can also become the cornerstone of an online entrepreneurial business. Fiction books can also be turned into a massively profitable online business with memberships, subscriptions, and paid speaking engagements. So dream big. Sign up on my landing page to complete a questionnaire so that you can try to make this happen here. I put in the live stream, it is in the chat, yourauthorplatform.com/request-interview. My team and I look forward to reviewing your interview request. Again, that link is yourauthorplatform.com/request-interview. Okay, let's move on to the next uh, topic, my AI segment. Thank you to everyone who loved my last AI segment. What is AI? I'm taking that as positive feedback that you want more on how AI works, whether it works, and how it can be a tool that helps authors if they know how to use it effectively. You'll be seeing more content from me where I make just a video on the last topic of what is AI and today's AI slop. So today's segment is about AI slop, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary's Word of the Year 2025. AI slop is an overwhelming amount of AI content, but overwhelming to whom? Well, hopefully not you, since you're listening to this. It's designed to overwhelm search engine algorithms and social media platforms. There's so much of it that it's overwhelming for these systems. And to make as much of it as possible, the people behind these AI tools make no effort toward originality and ignore factual accuracy. All that takes time because quality takes extra work and their goals are attention and profit. Some people call these goals the economy of attention, although I've called it the economy of rage. It can be some other emotions as well, negative emotions, shall we say. Consequently, AI slop has led to a decline in useful online information and in user trust. How many people do you know who have simply stopped viewing social media? Yeah, I know a lot of people like that. And perhaps, and because my channel is about helping authors become entrepreneurs, this degradation of online information makes it harder for you to grow your fan base, your collateral damage. But let's dig into this further. How do you spot AI slop? Think of it as low quality AI generated content, meaning images have unusual perfection, like perfect teeth, smiles, and skin. Images have structural areas like distorted hands or text, extra fingers, extra arms. Three people hugging each other and there's seven arms. What the heck, man? Repetitive phrasing in both videos and texts, overly formal language, and lack of depth where there's no specific nuanced information. All these are easily spotted if you care to look. Once you start looking, it gets far worse. Otherwise, trust your instincts. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, it's amazing that the instincts we've inherited from our ancestors, instincts that kept them alive, are helping us now with artificial intelligence slop. Google search uses statistics to find an answer to your question on the internet. If you want to know what AI slop is, you have to understand what it's replacing. So yes, specifically these statistics are Bayesian statistics. It's a type of probability based on strength rather than frequency. How strong is people's reaction to that element, then the number of times that element is mentioned. I know this is I know this is likely all a bit much. Thomas Bayes was born in 1701 and died at the age of 60. Bayesian statistics as a search engine algorithm didn't become popular until 1950 with the advancement of computer technology. I know, 1950, right? Basically, Bayesian statistics can't easily be done by hand, if at all. But with computers, hello Google search. But with Google search, AI slop is ruining it because there's so much useless internet content generated by high volume AI misinformation. And what does this mean for authors? Well, check your facts. I've met people who have told me that uh, what that they wished AI existed when they took English composition in college. My response was to say it would have been just another chapter in your course syllabus. Using AI to do your homework is how you get expelled from school, as your instructor specifically told you to do your own work. In the long term, I mean, there are ways where you can get inspiration. We'll talk about this another time. In the long term, there may be fewer authors coming forward because they rely on AI to produce content no better than average. And if you are a less than average author, you'll be able to publish an average book with AI, far better than what you could write. But then you'll never become an average writer. You never move up to being an average writer, much less a better than average writer, by not relying on an AI to write your books for you. Next time, I'll cover the AI bubble. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Sign up for a brief questionnaire so we can make an interview happen between us. Again, go to yourauthorplatform.com/request-interview. And that will be available in the video description and my podcast show notes. My team and I will look forward to seeing and listening to you here. The next Your Author Platform podcast episode will include another presentation on an essential topic for authors. It might even be an interview. I've got one that I'm setting up for Thursday. Hi, Harry. And let's see, Harry has comment. I've been thinking about writing a sci-fi novel. I'm new to this story all in my head. Should I start writing Should I start to write, think later, or think about the full framework and then start writing? If you want to write a sci-fi book, please do. I talked to a fantasy author, Larry Correa, and he encouraged me to not wait, to just get started. One of the things that I mentioned him earlier in the podcast. One of the things that he said to me I didn't mention earlier was the first million words are garbage, and he says, get them out of your system. And I realized when I got my doctorate, I have a Ph.D. in aerospace engineering. When I wrote my dissertation, I realized, it's not precisely a million words, but the day comes when you're like, I know my topic, and start writing. If you're asking about what topic, I just start writing, and that's what you need to do. If you may see that as you progress in your writing, that your storyline may change. I read there's books behind me. I read fantasy and science fiction and business books and physics books and engineering books, but all my life I watched, listened to, read, and all those things, sci-fi. And I even looked into setting up a channel about a year ago, chose a pseudonym based on my last name. And it was, I have issues. I have issues writing science fiction. Why? Because I have a bachelor's and a master's of physics. And I've been trained to think logically without bias, or as little bias as possible. And I found that I can read science fiction, but I have the hardest time writing science fiction. Find out, if any of that is a difficulty for you. Find out what you'd like to talk about. I have to make it real, and I'm like, no, 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 quiet, quiet, quiet. It's going to be okay. And my physics brain says, don't shush me. Warp travel, wormholes. How are people going to get around? What are they going to be frozen, or it's going to be instant? What all that is going to happen? So, feel free to jump in there and start writing. Please start writing. You need to work through that process, and first million words are garbage. Take it from Larry Correa. I did. That's the end of another. We got Harry. Thanks for the support. I have a topic, tone, and path. Good. But I'm thinking of nuances that are really hard. Yes, they are. Start writing. You'll work through it. And good luck. That's the end of another great episode of the Your Author Platform podcast and live stream. Thank you so much for listening. I plan to release the next episode very soon, probably a week from now, and I'll be have more amazing content for the show. Until then, connect with fans and build your audience. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and goodbye. Bye.